We are now joined by the Honorable Dr. Nyan Gadsby-Dolly, Minister of Education, as she visits a few schools this morning in light of the SEA examination. Good morning, Minister, and welcome.
Hi, good morning, and thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here this morning, and firstly, congratulations on your new appointment.
Thank you.
So we wish you great success, of course, and now we know you have planned to visit some schools this morning. First up would be the
St.
Ursula's AC Primary School. What are the plans for these visits this morning?
So this morning, I'm really interested in seeing the preparation and from hearing from at least two principals of, the whole issues surrounding the preparation for the essay exam. Let me say to the students, a very special good morning, and this has been a really rocky road for them, preparing since March to do the exam and now having to go through all of the challenges and the loopholes and the uncertainties. So I want to say to the parents and the students that I'm very happy we've arrived at this juncture. I know a lot of them were actually hoping what happened before. So this morning I'm really going to look at, what has happened in terms of sanitization, the processes, the distancing and so on, to get a first-hand understanding, because one of the main challenges of going forward for the rest of the year, presumably based on how we are looking, will be this whole issue of how we handle schooling. So that's the intention this month.
That's right. Due to the pandemic, these students had quite a journey to this point. What can you tell us about the way forward, especially considering that we are still in the midst of a pandemic?
Yes, and that is exactly what part of this visit is, looking at what the spatial distancing really turns out in terms of how many students can be accommodated at schools. I mean, at some point we will have to be looking at going back to school. Of course, we can't say when that will be based on our trajectory now. And also, I'm going to be meeting with the PS this morning and the other technocrats in the Ministry of Education as we look at what the plans were in terms of how they were looking to reintroduce schooling and that kind of thing. So I'll be touching base with the PS and taking a very close look at what the plans were. And in our new circumstances, we are in a 28-day cycle here, what it will possibly be in terms of no child being left behind. And there are many different issues relating to why children would be. So all of that will be on the cards for this morning and certainly continuing into next week as we make definite plans for how the education of our children during this time and this circumstance will take place.
Definitely. Minister, can you leave us with any word of advice for the students writing today's exam?
Well, I want to tell them that we are all as a country very proud of them, what they have faced in terms of, readying themselves for the exams and being 2 weeks away and then, having to face not going to school and so on. It's a very challenging thing. Many adults have not been able to cope with the effects of the pandemic, and their children are facing it now. So we are very proud of them and their efforts. I want to tell the parents as well that we do understand the kind of challenge that they would have faced in trying to keep their children heartened. And teachers as well, I want to thank them for their efforts. And to the children, I want to just encourage them to do your best, relax, say a prayer, and do the best that you can do. That is all we can ask of you. And as a country, we stand ready to support them in their efforts as they move forward in this very difficult time and take this challenge.
Very wonderfully said. What do you believe would be your takeaway from your visits today? What do you hope to learn from your visits today?
Today, I really want to understand the practical realities of what social distancing means in a school. I want to understand the procedures that are necessary for sanitization. I also want to get a sense of the children and how they feel in terms of writing the exams today, because it all ties into the teaching and learning process during this pandemic time. It's a very historic time, and it's a time where decisions have to be taken, and the first-hand understanding is very, very important in that regard. We have students who are going into exams next year, and they'll be also facing the same kind of challenge, and so I want to understand what the practical realities are. I want to understand a little bit about how the children feel, how the teachers feel, the principals. Of course, I'll be having more in-depth meetings, but I want to get a true sense of what is going on at the schools at this time.
That's right. The Prime Minister has said that at least for now, it seems that school will be closed until the 31st of December. When it comes to the reopening of schools, what do you propose that could look like?
And that is exactly what today will help with. I want to understand, because if we have social distancing, it may be that we cannot accommodate all the students in a school at the same time. So it would definitely mean a phased basis of blended learning. Students come to school on different days. Of course, that has different implications, especially lower down you go, because the whole issue of self-regulation, blended learning demands some type of self-regulation or supervision at home. So all of that is what we need to consider. And we need to take a very good look at what's happening around the world as well. We're not planning to reinvent the wheel, but of course, adapt what solutions are being found around the world for our circumstance and our culture in Trinidad and Tobago. So all of that is what we have to look at and work out, and of course, keeping a very close eye on what actually happens with the pandemic. Teacher training, that kind of thing, because online teaching is not something that teachers can just jump into. There has to be a certain level of training afforded. So all of that is what the considerations are, and I know the ministry would have been working on some of the solutions and the research, and that's what I would be taking a very close look at in the next couple of weeks.
One of the biggest challenges that has been identified is the access to data, the internet, and computers. Are there any primary plans or proposals being put forward from where you sit that may address that issue?
Well, certainly that is something that has to be addressed. It's just supervision as well, because whether you have devices and you have internet, the younger children are, yes, your supervision becomes a very important thing, because the parents are out of work and children are home, and there's no one to actually supervise what they are doing. Then, no matter no number of devices or connectivity will solve the problem. So all of that, again, is what I'll be discussing with the PS and the technical of the ministry, because they would have been heading along a particular path, and so we would need to make some firm decisions as to what that pathway will actually be, given our present circumstances.
Do you believe, Minister, it's a time for a major shift with the education system in Trinidad and Tobago?
Well, I think the Prime Minister signaled that very clearly yesterday when he spoke about the curriculum reform, and not just the curriculum. He has been speaking for a while about how we include technology, and therefore, I've already spoken to the Minister with responsibility for the digital transformation and so, and we will have further talks as to how we prepare our students to survive in a world that, where a pandemic is a reality, and where physical boundaries of a school would have to be revised. I mean, we have been going along that trajectory for a while, but now it is heightened, and therefore, yes, we need to do a shift. In many ways, the curriculum, the technology we use, and the way we consider school and the borders of school, all of that needs to be reimagined. Of course, it's not something that we can switch on and off. It will be an iterative process, and that is what we intend to embark on.
Minister, Dr. the Honorable Nyan Gadsby-Dolly, I want to say congratulations one more time for your appointment, and we wish you the best moving forward. I want to thank you for your time this morning, for joining us and giving us this insight into the purpose of your visits and things moving forward as pertains to the Ministry of Education.
Thank you so very much for having me.
All right, have a great day.
Have a great day.
You as well. All right, that was the Honorable Minister, Dr. Nyan Gadsby-Dolly, and again, she has some visits planned for this morning on the SEA morning itself, so we look forward to what is to come from that, and the media, of course, has been invited to cover that as well.